Folks, this is what it's like when you work for a president who tells you to go get the bad guys and stop focusing on other extraneous things not related to law enforcement. This is what happens. We had a great team. I know it's
4:58 p.m. Chicago, Illinois. $12 million in dirty revenue. 71 search warrants. 39 arrests in the first wave. And a network so embedded in city procedures that investigators called it a passport mill with municipal teeth. They didn't just counterfeit documents, they rewrote people. And the worst part, what made the room go silent, was one line from the briefing binder that no one expected to read out loud. A city clerk has been identified, not a low-level runner, not a street forger, not a night shift hacker, a city clerk. If you're still listening, understand this now. What happened in this story wasn't a burglary against the system. It was the system, quietly turned sideways, then aimed like a weapon at the public. Because by the time the FBI and ICE moved in, the passport mill wasn't hidden in some basement with a cheap printer. It was operating like a business with hours, policies, and protection. And the next part is worse. 4:32 a.m. west side of Chicago. A low fog hung over the streetlights, turning every intersection into a pale, humming glow. The city was quiet in that unnatural way, like even the buildings were holding their breath. 3 black SUVs idled with headlights off. A 4th rolled in slow, tires whispering over wet pavement. On the corner, a neon sign above a shuttered travel agency buzzed and flickered like a bad heartbeat. FBI, ICE, a DHS tactical element. 2 SWAT teams staged 1 block away. No sirens, no speeches, just radios murmuring encrypted code and the sound of boots adjusting for traction. At 4:33 a.m., the first team moved. They didn't rush. They flowed, tight, practiced, black helmets, matte rifles angled down until the moment they weren't. A breacher stopped at the travel agency's steel door, set the charge with hands that didn't shake, and leaned away. A dull, controlled thump. Metal flexed. Hinges screamed. The door kicked inward. Federal agents! A voice cut through the fog, loud enough to shatter the illusion of normal life. Hands! Show your hands! Inside, the air smelled like toner and old carpet and burnt coffee. The front office looked harmless. Posters of beaches, a rack of brochures, a dusty printer. Then the agents hit the back room, and the lie peeled open. Industrial laminators, stacks of blank passport booklets sealed in plastic, heat presses, embossers, a row of laptops running in sync, a wall-mounted camera feed showing the alley, the street, the rear stairwell. Someone had been watching for raids the way a bank watches for robbers. A suspect bolted toward a rear exit with a duffel bag. He didn't make it 3 steps. 2 agents took him down hard, pinning him to the floor. The bag split open and spilled its contents like a confession. Bundled cash, stacks of forged birth certificates, counterfeit visas, and a slim hard case labeled with nothing at all. Across the city, the second wave hit at the same time. 4:35 a.m. southwest side, near an industrial strip where warehouses sat like sleeping giants. A semi-truck lot, a logistics company with a fresh sign and a locked gate. The gate didn't stay locked. A Ram truck hit it once. Twice, metal snapped. Agents poured in under the whitewash of floodlights, shouting commands as suspects stumbled out of an office in sweatpants in panic. They found a hidden room behind a false wall. Not drugs, not guns, documents. Thousands of them. Driver's licenses in neat stacks, social security cards, city-issued IDs with fresh holograms, passport photos clipped and numbered. Fingerprint cards, a binder titled Clients, priority with pages of names and notes like VIP, no delays and special clearance. And in a steel cabinet, there it was. A ledger with a handwritten column marked Mill Reverend totaling $12 million. $12,004,700. A neat number. Like someone balanced the books before sunrise. The third hit went loud. 4:41 a.m. A 2-flat in Little Village with the curtains always drawn. When agents breached, they were met with shouting, then the crack of a pistol round into drywall. SWAT moved in tight. A flashbang popped, white light and thunder, and the apartment filled with smoke and confusion. No long firefight, no heroic stand, just panic. A man tried to jump from the back stairwell, slipped on wet steps, and fell hard. Another shoved a USB drive into his mouth like he could swallow evidence. ICE agents zip-tied wrists and read names off a list, matching faces to surveillance photos. Inside a kitchen cabinet behind cereal boxes, they found small vacuum-sealed bricks, not cocaine, but fentanyl pills, stamped and counted like currency. Because the passport mill wasn't just about movement, it was about supply lines, and the raids kept rolling. Massage fronts, a fake immigration services storefront, a backroom print shop that only opened after midnight, a private office suite rented under a charity's name, a downtown condo where the closet held not clothes but cash. By 6:10 a.m., the city's underworld was bleeding in silence, and then the twist arrived, quiet, cold, and digital. In the travel agency's back room, beneath a floorboard that didn't match the rest, agents found a sealed steel box. It was heavy, too heavy for paper. Inside, encrypted hard drives wrapped in anti-static bags, each tagged with a handwritten label: Clerk key, roster, city access, greenlight times. Greenlight times wasn't a document term, it was an operational term, and it meant someone inside the system wasn't just forging identities. They were controlling when law enforcement looked away. 10:22 a.m. Federal Building, Chicago. Deep inside a locked suite where phones were surrendered at the door, analysts in the FBI's cyber forensics unit, faces pale under LED lights, plugged the drives into isolated machines. The first pass showed nothing, just encrypted blocks, cold and meaningless. The second pass got a crack, one tiny fracture in the armor, a string of metadata, a pattern in timestamps, a repeated identifier. Then the screen changed. A map bloomed across a wall display, lines connecting nodes like veins, shell companies, bank accounts, payment processors, fake nonprofits, shipping contractors, travel agencies, notary services, translation offices, all of them tied together by the same invisible hand. A code name sat at the center of the network in bold letters: Project Turnstile, because that's what it was, a turnstile, a controlled gate, a way to move the right people through while everyone else waited outside. The money flow was ugly and smart, small transfers under thresholds, fees disguised as document processing, donations to charities that never held events, payments routed through a restaurant group that existed only on paper, then offshore, then back, then spent on equipment, rent, bribes, and silence. And there, embedded in an authorization chain, hidden inside a digital certificate used to approve expedited municipal identity services, was a signature. Not a name typed into an email, a cryptographic key, a unique internal token linked to one office workstation inside Chicago's Municipal Records Division, a workstation assigned to the city clerk's administrative suite. That's when the case stopped being corruption. That's when it became command-level collusion. Because you don't accidentally build a system like this. You engineer it. 11:03 a.m. In a separate room behind glass, agents and prosecutors stood over printed screenshots. One of them tapped a page with a pen, slow, deliberate. The digital key was tied to a user profile. The profile belonged to City Clerk Ronan Vale. Fictional name, fictional man. But in this story, the role was real enough. The person who touched the levers that made documents become reality. And Ronan Vale wasn't just stamping forms, he was directing traffic. A note recovered from the drive, half encrypted but readable, had a line that made an ICE supervisor stare at the wall for a long time. No paper trail, use clerk key. Clear them before Monday, clear them. Not approve them, clear them. If you're wondering what that means, it means the passport mill had a back door into the city's legitimacy, into the systems that tell hospitals who you are, employers who you are, police databases who you are, into the whole idea of identity. And it wasn't for petty fraud, it was for a cartel-grade operation, an imported criminal enterprise using municipal infrastructure like a conveyor belt. The cartel had a street name in the seized chats, a Mexican cartel faction known as the Nuevo Sombra Cartel. Not famous on billboards, not loud, the kind that doesn't announce itself, the kind that buys what it needs, And in Chicago, what it needed wasn't just guns. It needed clean names. It needed passports. It needed doors that opened without questions. The agents didn't celebrate. Not yet. Because Project Turnstile wasn't finished telling the truth. And the next phase was worse. 3:58 a.m. the following day. A command center on the outskirts of the city, temporary walls lined with screens. A digital map showed Chicago and the collar counties like a living organism. Dozens of red markers pulsed, each one a location, each one a piece of the machine. On a whiteboard, a number written in thick marker. 1,200 plus federal personnel involved. FBI squads, ICE teams, DEA support units brought in for narcotics interdiction, DHS intelligence officers, SWAT, Financial Crimes Task Force, U.S. Marshals assigned to prisoner transport. Black Hawk helicopters sat fueled at a nearby airfield, not for spectacle, but for speed, because the moment news leaks, runners run. At 4:10 a.m., the operation commander, a fictional FBI SAC named Dana Kessler, stood with her hands on the table and spoke like a person trying not to let anger become a mistake. Simultaneous entries. No freelance heroics. Every target has a purpose. Because these weren't random raid points. Forward that sword you on. A first stack moved on a suburban storage facility toner, yes. But also crates of holographic overlay film, embossing dies, and a crate of blank passport booklets that were not supposed to exist outside a federal supply chain. 4:46 a.m. Another team hit a high-rise office rented by a legal consultation firm. They found servers mounted on rails humming, a small data center in an office suite with a view of the lake. The server logs showed something chilling. Requests for expedited identity verification spiked at specific times, always 30 minutes before certain traffic stops were canceled, or certain patrol units were rerouted, or certain cameras went offline for maintenance. You can call it coincidence if you like. Investigators didn't. 5:02 a.m., a convoy interdiction on an expressway ramp. 2 vans, tinted windows, plates registered to a church. Inside, 4 people with forged passports, a handler with a burner phone, and duffel bags with vacuum-sealed narcotics. Cocaine bricks wrapped in black tape and a smaller bag of fentanyl pills measured by the thousand. Not tons of narcotics. This wasn't a Hollywood warehouse of drugs. This was worse. This was distribution-level precision. A network designed to move just enough to make fortunes, not headlines. 6:18 a.m., a Riverside warehouse. The door opened to reveal a room with stainless tables, pill presses, chemical masks, small-scale meth processing equipment. Not a desert super lab, but a city lab, the kind that hides behind legitimate deliveries, behind paperwork, behind the noise of commerce. Agents photographed everything, bagged samples, sealed machines, and rolled out stacks of cash. $840,000 in one safe alone. By 7 a.m., it was clear. Project Turnstile was not a single crime. It was a platform, a service, identity creation on demand, bundled with migrant smuggling, narcotics movement, and the quiet laundering of cartel revenue through Chicago's legitimate economy. And then the operation struck the nerve. 7:22 a.m., downtown municipal building. The halls were clean, the kind of clean that makes you lower your voice without realizing it. Federal agents entered with warrants folded like blades. They didn't sprint, they didn't shout, they walked like people who knew exactly where to go. City Clerk Ronan Vale's office door was closed. A receptionist looked up, confused, then afraid. An FBI agent placed a badge and the warrant on the counter. "We're here for Ronan Vale." Inside, Vale stood from behind a desk that looked too expensive for public service. He wore a tailored suit, hair perfect, expression practiced. For a second, he tried to smile. Then he saw the cuffs. He didn't ask why. He asked quietly, "Who flipped?" That question said everything, because innocent people ask what's happening. Guilty people ask what broke. Vale was arrested without a struggle. In his desk drawer, a second phone wrapped in foil to block signals. In his safe, $62,000 in cash and a set of keys labeled with nothing at all. And in the lining of a leather folder, a handwritten list of names, people who weren't criminals on paper. A deputy commissioner, a procurement officer, 2 mid-level IT contractors, a precinct logistics sergeant. The badge wasn't just infiltrated, it was rented. And now came the part that every honest officer hates, The part where you learn the enemy wore your uniform, 9:40 a.m. Back at the federal lab, investigators pulled email archives, access logs, and internal routing records from the seized servers. The picture that formed wasn't chaotic. It was disciplined. Patrol grids altered on certain nights. Traffic enforcement reassigned away from specific routes. Anonymized tips redirected into dead-end queues. Raid schedules leaked, just enough to let a few key suspects vanish before entry teams arrived. The network had built something like a second police force, a parallel enforcement system, not to protect the public, to protect the pipeline. They found payment records, microtransfers, gift cards, fake consulting invoices, funneled to compromised officials. 32 city employees flagged. 9 law enforcement personnel under immediate investigation in the story's timeline. 2 judges' clerks suspected of calendar manipulation, moving hearings like chess pieces. And in one recovered chat thread, a line that made a veteran agent clench his jaw, "The badge works for us if you pay IT right." There were emotional moments that didn't make headlines. A young detective, fictional name Marcus Dallow, sat in an interview room staring at a list of compromised names that included a man who'd been at his wedding. He didn't cry, he just stared, like the world had changed shape. An ICE officer, fictional name Lena Surratt, spoke in a low voice to a camera for internal documentation. "We're trying to stop migrant smuggling and human trafficking, and they're turning the city's own processes into a conveyor belt. It's not just crime, it's cruelty." Because behind every fake passport was a person being moved, used, threatened, or sold. Behind every clean identity was a dirty purpose, and the deeper they looked, the bigger the map became. By the end of the week, Project Turnstile wasn't confined to Chicago. It radiated outward. Trucking contractors running lanes into Indiana and Wisconsin. Fake agricultural shipments with altered manifests. Small ports of entry along the northern routes used as pressure valves when the southern corridors tightened. A restaurant chain laundering cash through inflated nightly sales. A sham nonprofit helping families that, in truth, collected fees to place people into forced labor arrangements. The narcotics numbers were never presented as a movie fantasy, but they were still horrifying. Enough fentanyl pills to seed overdoses across multiple neighborhoods. Enough cocaine and meth to finance the next round of bribery. Enough cash to keep the machine greased. And then the catastrophic file appeared. A final directory on the seized drives, protected by a newer encryption scheme. Harder, meaner. Analysts worked it for 2 sleepless nights. When it opened, it wasn't a list of past crimes. It was a plan, a proposal deck. Clean formatting, corporate language. Turnstile Phase 2, municipal integration. It described expanding the passport mill model into other departments, procurement, licensing, vendor approvals. So cartel-connected shell companies could win contracts, embed contractors into IT, and normalize expedited processing as a permanent feature. Not just infiltration, a redesign, a future. A city tuned like an instrument to serve a drug empire without ever saying the word cartel. One line sat near the end, written like a mission statement: control the papers, control the movement. That's the moment everyone in that room understood the real threat. The cartel wasn't trying to outgun the government, it was trying to out-administer it. Because power doesn't always arrive with open violence. Sometimes it arrives with stamps, approvals, silence, and ambition. And if you let it, it becomes normal. In the days that followed, indictments dropped like winter hail. Charges stacked: conspiracy, money laundering, document fraud, bribery, narcotics distribution. Federal judges signed detention orders while defense attorneys argued procedure. Outside, on the steps of the courthouse, cameras flashed. People demanded names. Politicians issued statements that sounded polished and hollow. But inside the evidence rooms, the truth sat in plastic bags and hard drives. The truth was measured in forged passports, in people smuggled through corridors built out of paperwork, in fentanyl that doesn't care if you're rich or poor, young or old, in neighborhoods hollowed out one overdose at a time, and in the quiet betrayal of public trust, when the clerk behind a counter becomes the gatekeeper for an underworld. If you're still watching, ask yourself a hard question. How many systems around you run on trust so automatic you never notice it? It just needed access. And one official with the authority to make lies look official. So if you want more stories like this dragged into the light, tap like so the algorithm doesn't bury it, and comment expose if you believe corruption should never feel safe, especially inside public office.